Futures in Fundraising is presented by Alexander Haas. Alexander Haas, transforming institutions that transform lives.
Hello, fundraisers and philanthropists, and welcome to another episode of Futures in Fundraising. I'm your host, Jared Howard, and we have Stephen Garten in the house today. He is the founder and CEO of Charity Charge. How's it going, Stephen?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much for having me on, Jared.
Oh, the pleasure's all ours. Well, let's dive into this thing. And before we get into Charity Charge, what Charity Charge is, let's talk about your background. What got you to this point? Let's just start there.
I kind of would answer it. Growing up, I was always entrepreneurially minded. Doing stuff as a little kid, and then throughout high school, and then into college. And it's been through this process of to be candid, being on some other podcasts and getting interviewed for some other kind of media exposure, that it's made me kind of think back a lot about the story and kind of connect the dots looking backwards, which is something that, Steve Jobs points out in his Stanford commencement speech, which I always appreciate. And I think it's very true. So when I was 19, I was a sophomore in college. My father unfortunately passed away from cancer, and I was super close to him. He was a really great role model for me, and he was unbelievably philanthropic, to the extent he could. My mom and I used to joke that anytime the phone rang, we try to beat him to it, during dinner, because we knew it might be a nonprofit calling, and he would just always say yes and always give. And so, when he passed away, he was 53, and that really left a big mark on me, because it made me truly, we always talk about this kind of cliche that life's short and you got to make the most of it. But that really hit me, and it was something that I held on to. And I think very much I'm 31 now, but in this kind of millennial spirit and mindset, I think there's a bit of a consciousness shift. And, so while I was in college, I was struck and trying to think about ways that, how could I make a difference? But obviously there's the practical side of making a living and being able to pay the rent and doing all those things. But I think what really stuck with me is that, I recognize that there's a lot of people that it's not until they're what I kind of call their twilight years of life. Maybe they've had a really successful business career, and then when they're 60, 70, 80, they start figuring out how to be philanthropic. And I really wanted to figure out a way to combine the two. How could I mix my professional career also with my philanthropic and make those, synergistic and just tie together. So, I'm happy to get into the kind of the really practical kind of weeds and the micro of it, but that's the macro of just kind of, I was trying to just, and I continue to try to just live a life of fulfillment, and make sure that I'm actually making an impact and a difference. Absolutely.
And out of that came Charity Charge. Can you talk about how the idea came to you, how it was birthed, and just where that came from?
Yep. So, I think the first thing, I was very much in an entrepreneur's mindset, where I was trying to come up with an idea. The brief background was that I was unhappy in my current job. I quit it. I jumped in. I said, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I need to come up with an idea. I was testing out. I was looking at all these different ideas and business models. And I just had this experience where I had signed up for this credit card, and I had been accumulating all these rewards and bonus points. So it came the end of the year, and I thought, geez, I need to log in. I need to really redeem these points. Let me see what I can get. And I remember there was all these mix of like marketing messages when I signed up for the card of, you're going to get all these rewards. It's going to change your life. It's going to be the best thing ever. So I'm in the bank's rewards catalog. I'm scrolling through for things that I can redeem. And, it's going, hey, for 25,000 points, you can get this Olive Garden gift card, or scroll down, and click this, you can get a Samsonite briefcase or a pair of binoculars. And I probably spent a good 45 minutes or so on this bank's website, like really kind of agonizing over, what am I going to pick out? Like, what am I going to get? And after about like the 45-minute mark or so, I realized that this is just all crap. It's all junk. I personally, I didn't need more stuff. I was really grateful for what I had. And I logged off, frustrated, disenchanted with that experience. And the next thing I did was I was checked my email, and a local nonprofit, Charity Charge, is based in Austin, Texas, where I live now. And a local nonprofit I had supported that year sent an email right at that moment, basically asking to help out with their end-of-year fundraising drive. And that's where I thought, hey, here's this group that I cared about, that I had supported out of my own pocket, earlier that year. They're asking for my help. I want to support them even more. At the bank, I've got all these value and these points that I've earned. They mean nothing to me. What if there was a way that I could give back with every swipe and make a difference? And, naturally, I started thinking about companies, even in that moment, like Tom's Shoes or Warby Parker, that are doing it on the product level. Hey, buy this shoe and we'll give a shoe, or buy this product and we'll give a product.
Right.
I just thought, why can't we take that up a level and allow people to be able to make a difference every time they make a purchase, regardless of what they buy, regardless of what store that they're in? So that was kind of the, my genesis of kind of the one-to-one at Charity Charge. I think what I'd point out is I started then looking at, could we actually make a business out of it? Or is this just some, kind of whimsical idea that I have? And something that I've noticed that I'll share is that a really pretty comprehensive study came out by Bankrate in April. It found that 31% of credit card holders in the United States, that's over 60 million people in the U.S., never, ever redeem their reward points. So that's over $16 billion a year.
Holy
that
cow.
Ultimately, due to these schemes that the credit card companies and these too big to fail banks create, they basically take back that value. They call it breakage, and the banks count on that, and they bake it into their financial models when they launch a credit card program, et cetera. So really, Charity Charge is about more profits for nonprofits, not about padding the bottom line of some rich bank, but about giving back to those in need.
Right, absolutely, and it kind of goes along this this path of passive. Now we've got the passive investing where, a few cents from every purchase, rounds up and gets invested or puts into savings. And this really follows that trend. Like, this is what people are really looking to do. Everyday purchases, and you're donating to a charity of your choice.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the connection that has me really actually more recently re-inspired, I'll give you a story, is that, first of all, yeah, you're absolutely right. What was important for me that I kind of eventually came up with this phrase, and an advisor of mine, kind of coined of, we're not asking people what's in their wallet, we're asking them what's in their heart. So it was very important that when the initial creation of Charity Charge, and what we have today is it's a credit card, lets you earn cash back. You earn 1% with every transaction. That counts as a tax-deductible donation to any nonprofit of your choice. So we literally have every single nonprofit in the U.S., including all K-12 schools, colleges, universities, religious organizations, you name it. So people have the opportunity to pick whatever they want. But, even taking that a step further, for example, I recently switched my card to start supporting an organization called A Glimmer of Hope. And what A Glimmer of Hope does, at the core of their mission, they help it saves lives they build wells, they provide clean drinking water, education, and many other resources to people in developing countries. And so they've equated out that $100 saves a life. So my card now is supporting A Glimmer of Hope. So I know that every time that I'm around town, whether it's getting coffee, gas for my car, groceries, out to dinner with friends, etc., I am literally swiping to save a life because I'm funding A Glimmer of a Hope. But ultimately, for people, I don't want to tell people, it's up to them what's important, what they care about. So that's why we have that ability. But, it kind of has re-inspired me. I recently got to know the Glimmer of Hope people. And, when they equated out to that and then I switched it in my card, it really puts that tangible mindset in my mind that, I'm truly making a difference, and I'm swiping to save lives.
Absolutely. And the best part about it is you're already going to buy gas. You're already going to buy food. You're going to buy all these things. And why not just go ahead and set that in place? And there it is, passive again, getting that donation made no matter what you're doing. But,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you said it. I mean, that's definitely why I think it was really just trying to figure out an easy way to let people give back, that already fit into their lifestyle.
Right. Absolutely. All right. Well, fundraisers and philanthropists, we're going to take a quick break. But when we come back, we're going to start diving into the nuts and bolts of Charity Charge, and also tell you about how you can get a card. So stay tuned.
So I think what I like most about my work, and I think what tends to attract people to this kind of work, is the outcomes of the work. We are helping nonprofit organizations to change people's lives every day. And although sometimes you have to really focus to see that in your day-to-day work, the reality is that everything we do, every successful campaign that we're involved with, impacts a lot of people at the end. So you can go home at the end of the day, and whether it was a good day or a bad day or how you're feeling, you can look back and know that you made the world a better place today. And not every job, it's not as easy to see that in every kind of job, but you can really see it here in the work that we do.
One of the projects I enjoyed working on recently was with the Jacksonville Humane Society. Along the way I learned it wasn't just about the animals. The neat thing about the Humane Societies, it's really about the people and how the animals play a role in these people's lives. That particular Humane Society does a lot of work with wounded warriors and others who need animals for helping people to cope with various problems. It was really gratifying to see the work that was done there, the challenges that they had raising money. They'd had a fire many years ago which had destroyed the kennels, and this campaign was to rebuild the kennels. What was most exciting about it was seeing the impact that that organization has on people.
All right, welcome back, fundraisers and philanthropists. We've got Stephen Garten in the house. He is the founder and CEO of Charity Charge. So, Stephen, let's dive into the nuts and bolts of Charity Charge. So, at the very heart of Charity Charge is this card, correct?
Correct. So there it is. I don't know. So yes, so Charity Charge is a credit card. We have a partnership with MasterCard and also our issuing bank, which is Commerce Bank. So what we followed to be able to launch this is think of any credit card, say a Southwest credit card, a Nordstrom's credit card, a J. Crew credit card, Exxon credit card. There's all these brands that have their own credit cards. And in order to launch it, you have to have a partnership with two key entities. One is a credit card issuer. So in the case of Southwest, they have a partnership with Chase Bank. That's their issuing bank. And then they also have a partnership with Visa. That's their payment network. For us, we replicated that model after kind of an exhaustive process and a lot of learnings. We were able to form a partnership with Commerce Bank, which is a top 20 issuer of credit cards in the United States. So they're our bank partner. And then also with MasterCard, and they're our payment network. And really, I'm happy to go into the kind of the breakdown of the behind the scenes, but really kind of the purposes for anyone that's listening that might be interested in using it or just understanding about credit cards is by doing that, we were able to tap into this infrastructure that already existed. So an individual, once they get a card, they can just use it around the world wherever MasterCard's accepted. There's no setup. It functions and works just like a credit card. The twist is just that instead of earning airline miles, you're literally just supporting whatever nonprofit is of your choice every time you make a purchase.
Right, absolutely. Now, I'm just really curious. So when you make a purchase, does it make a micro donation immediately to that charity, or does it save up into like kind of a pool and make one large donation, say at the end of the year, or that kind of thing?
Yeah, so we currently process donations on a quarterly basis. So from a nuts and bolts standpoint, there's kind of twofold for it. One is, to be candid, is operational on our side and the bank side, which I'll get in more in the details. The other side actually is to the benefit of the nonprofit. So there would be ridiculous costs to be moving 10 cents here, 11 cents here on our side. But also, if you're a nonprofit, your accounting department, your CFO, et cetera, they want to get bulk donations in and be able to then allocate it kind of line item. They don't want 9 cents today and 11 cents. It would just be a nightmare and put a lot of onerous extra effort on them. So essentially what happens is all the cardholders are using the card. It creates a big pool of donations at the top. Our platform tracks it on a user-by-user basis of how much they've earned and to which nonprofits they want to support. You can support up to 3 different nonprofits at a time. And then our platform is basically able to instruct our donation processor, which is Network for Good, the breakdown of payouts per nonprofit. And an interesting point out of our model, cardholders are earning that 1%. That's a tax-deductible donation.
Mm-hmm.
The card has no annual fee. Completely separate from that, the bank and MasterCard pay us essentially a performance fee as we grow the program. And it's out of that revenue to our company that we also underwrite the donation processing fees, so that cardholders and the nonprofit, 100% of what they earn goes to the nonprofit. Traditionally, if you were to say, go on, I'll just use a random, kind of example here. Say you were going to go on to ASPCA's website and make a $100 donation.
Mm-hmm.
About anywhere from $3 to $5 of that transaction would get eaten up in credit card processing fees. So
right.
ASPCA would only end up getting, approximately 95 to 97 of your $100. So we underwrite those fees to just try to make a 100% model here.
Whoa, that's fantastic. So then at the end of every quarter, each card holder is getting, say, a receipt for their tax purposes of what they've donated?
Essentially. So although the money technically flows on a quarterly by quarterly basis, although we're working on ways to shrink that down to a monthly basis and maybe eventually a week by week, but cardholders can log in at any point. You get access to your donation dashboard, and it's there that you can track and see how much you've earned on a weekly basis. And you have the ability to toggle on and off other nonprofits if there's other groups that you want to support over time, et cetera. So you can track on a week by week basis. End of years where you get your tax receipt and where you're able to, file that if you want to, with your taxes that you file.
That's fantastic. So let's kind of switch gears a little bit.
Sure.
We've talked about how wonderful of an idea this is. What are some of the challenges that you're facing right now?
Wow, right now. Our biggest challenge is figuring out a way to fight the noise that the rest of the industry is creating. So if you look at the landscape of credit cards, we're a public benefit corporation, and we're trying to figure out how do we reach people through channels that make sense. The challenge that we're up against is all the big banks, Chase, Bank of America, Citi, Capital One, et cetera, they're literally buying their way into people's wallets, right? Offering these ridiculous sign-up bonuses, spending tons of money, whether it's, things of sponsoring the Super Bowl or having ads on billboards or buses or, spending a ton of money running ads on Facebook, all these other channels. So, macro is just continuing to be able to spread the word. Part of what I'm reading right now, Blake Mykoski's book, the founder of Tom Shoes, Something That Matters. And, he talks very much about the power of the story. So look, really practically, we reached out to you because we saw you had this platform, the podcast, a way to share. And we thought, maybe that's a great way. So we've started to think about different ways we can leverage kind of PR in the 2017 world, which is a lot of these podcasts that, it makes a lot of sense kind of to share this story and to be able to talk to you and maybe give some value back to your audience of things that they're interested in on kind of the social impact, nonprofits, fundraising, entrepreneur. But I say, it doesn't make sense to have, the CEO of Bank of America on. I mean, what's he going to talk about?
Right.
So, yeah, shooting you really straight. It's about figuring out ways to get the word out, and then through vehicles like this is really great. So I really appreciate what you're doing. Even on this micro sense, it gives us an opportunity to share the story and kind of the mission of Charity Charge through a new channel that's different than trying to just compete in these crowded channels that banks traditionally market in.
Right. I'm excited that we're able to highlight this, man. It's an incredible mission. And I had a question too. Like, so far, is it more card holder first, then charity, or like through the charities, they kind of get card holders? What seems to be most typical right now?
Yeah, so I mean, one way that we've seen success is working with the nonprofits, right? This gives an easy way for them to build capacity. It's reoccurring revenue, and it's through a new channel. So one example would be we worked really closely with Whole Planet Foundation. great nonprofit, very much focused on providing microcredit to women in developing countries. And we basically just gave them a really straightforward email template. We created a Whole Planet Foundation landing page. They put that in front of their donors. They now have somewhere over 20 cardholders. They've already raised thousands of dollars through Charity Charge. So their donors, a subset of them, are literally every time they spend money, Whole Planet Foundation is making money. So we do that with many nonprofits, and we have the resources where if a nonprofit wants, we'll give them a custom landing page, we'll give them the marketing resources that they can easily get it out to their audience.
Absolutely. Well, before we wrap this up, can you tell us a little bit about where you see this going, where fundraising in general is going, and then also where Charity Charge is going?
Yeah, so I think big picture, where fundraising is going, I think that certain nonprofits, I'd say Whole Planet Foundation, you can look at Charity Water, you can look at some innovative things that groups like Pencils of Promise are doing. They're trying to recognizing that people will continue to give, but they're going to give through different channels. I think the idea of just having, a year-end gala or a direct mail campaign where you're expecting someone to write a check is slowly fading. So it's important to look at kind of new ways to earn revenue as a nonprofit. And where Charity Charge is trying to going is it may be too bold, kind of bold of a statement, but I very much personally think that we're starting to reach a tipping point where people are starting to perhaps second guess consumerism a little bit, right? If you think of the model right now, and especially with kind of credit card rewards, when is enough enough? Think of like a Nordstrom's credit card. You get a Nordstrom's credit card so that you can buy something at Nordstrom's, so then you earn more points, then you can buy something else at Nordstrom's. Or you have a Southwest card, so you can buy a flight, so then you can earn more points, so that you can then buy another flight. And I know this isn't the case for everyone, and I'm not saying that Charity Charge is for people to literally have to use every time and give up all of their reward points. But it's an opportunity when you want to do good and you want to feel good to be able to give back and step off that consumerism treadmill just a little bit and recognize, for me, I feel so grateful for everything that I have in my life, that I was born in a great country, had a good upbringing, and I have so much that I want to be able to give back. And if I have the opportunity to be able to, this morning I bought, had breakfast, used my card, earned money for Glimmer of Hope. So, I'm hoping the really big picture is that Charity Charge can be a model to inspire people to take a step back and maybe evaluate, how they are as a consumer in this 21st century.
Absolutely. And I think you're heading in that direction. What is that saying? The funny thing about the people who say they're going to change the world, they actually do.
Appreciate that. We'll see.
Well, why don't you tell our listeners about how they can be a card holder? How do they go about getting this credit card?
Sure. It's super simple. You just go to our website, which is charitycharge.com. And on there, you can sign up, search for your nonprofit, and then apply for the card. We're also on all of the major social media platforms, simply at Charity Charge.
All right, fundraisers and philanthropists, you heard it from Stephen. Head on over to charitycharge.com, get you that card, and start giving to that nonprofit that holds a place in your heart without even having to think about it. So, Stephen, thank you so much for taking time out for Futures in Fundraising today.
My pleasure. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me.
And thank you for being here. And for now, we'll say take it easy, and we'll catch you on the flip side.